EMP Series, Chapter 3, Revolution, Episode 2. Carl and his family rode without stopping late into the night. They wanted to put as much distance between themselves and their homestead as they could before they stopped. They had the 2 soldiers that they had taken prisoner with them. About 4 miles before they reached the remote mountain cabin that housed a team of Section 7 security operatives, they were stopped on the trail by a lone hooded gunman. Carl knew the protocol and was aware that the gunman was a Section 7 security operator. He knew they could not allow the prisoners to see the cabin or their camp. Without speaking to each other, the security operator took the reins for the prisoners' horses from Carl, who just nodded to them as he passed the reins off. The Section 7 security team had groups of operatives all over this region, as well as in every other region that they had ops in. They maintained clandestine prison camps in each area as well. The prison camps were not sanctioned officially by the company. This was also the case for most of the Section 7 ops. The security team's plan was to take the 2 prisoners and put them in a camp in an area as far from here as they could. There, they would remain for an unknown amount of time. After all, they had violated their oaths when they went along with Major Stillman's illegal campaign of terror and control. Then, at some point in their very distant future, they would be drugged and stashed on a ship bound for some port somewhere on the other side of the world. But for now, they simply vanished from service. Carl's hope of getting rid of the military presence in a peaceful, diplomatic way was now just a dream, one he had been abruptly woken from. He was committed to the cause and always knew it was in the best interests of the community. He also knew that it might be necessary to fight to ensure that liberty, but now that it had taken a violent turn, his first priority was the safety of his family. He and Abigail sat alone in the quiet of the evening, discussing what it all meant for their family. Carl wanted her and the children to go away and stay with her family in a small town some 40 miles away. He told her that he believed Zeb was old enough to choose to be involved in the fight or to go with her and the others. He's capable of making his own decisions on where he stands on the issue and whether it's something he believes in strongly enough to fight for it, he told Abigail. Abigail remembered how difficult a time she had in the past when Carl had to go away to serve his country. The sleepless nights worrying if he was okay. Waking up from a deep sleep from a nightmare about Carl being trapped, alone, wounded, and fighting for his life, with no way to contact him, to check to make sure he was safe, or even alive. No, she insisted. It would not be my choice to leave, Carl. I can't go through that again. If we live or die, we will do it together as a family. I want to be here with you, by your side. I want to know where you are and that you're okay. I want your children to be able to see you and hold you every day. Carl, I have always respected your wishes and done as you have seen fit for this family. This time, I'm strongly expressing my opposition, and that I want the children and I to remain close to you as a family. Tears began to well up in her eyes. Carl could see she was upset. He held her close to him. It's okay, baby girl. It's okay. He gently rubbed her back as he held her. I want us all to be together too, honey. But the time may come when you will have to take the kids and go. When that time comes, We won't have time to discuss it. When and if that time comes, I need to know that you will go, no matter how hard it is for all of us. Promise me, Abby." Abigail broke his embrace, pulled back and looked him in the eyes. "I promise, Carl. When and if that time does come, I promise I'll do as you ask." He put his arms around her again. They sat down and looked up at a beautiful star-filled evening. As they were sitting there enjoying the peaceful moment together, Zeb came out onto the front porch. "Dad, sorry to bother you, but they got something on the ham radio that you should probably hear." Carl went into the back room that housed the radio equipment. The communications officer took the headset off and handed it to Carl. He flipped the button on the radio, turning the external speaker on as well. It was a message that Section 7 had intercepted from Captain Crawford to the Provisional Government Command. Crawford identified Carl as a suspect in the murder of Major Stillman and 10 of his men. He was ordering the lockdown of all roads and trails leading into and out of the region. He cautioned them to alert their men that Carl was definitely heavily armed and extremely dangerous. Crawford referred to Carl and anybody that would help him as radical right-wing extremists. He also informed the command that they had taken Frank, Carl's deputy, into custody. Crawford claimed that it would have been virtually impossible for Carl to kill Stillman and all 10 of his men alone. He reasoned that Carl and at least one other man, most likely Frank, had waited at his homestead to ambush Stillman and his men and murder them in cold blood. They were holding Frank and questioning him, but so far he had given them nothing, Crawford reported. Carl knew that whatever was happening at the military camp was not going to be good for Frank. He told the security chief that something had to be done immediately to help him. "We have to get him out before they kill him," Carl demanded. The security chief assured Carl that they were doing all that they could. "We have a couple guys in town trying to gain intel on what's going down, Constable. Nothing more can be done until we know more. The section chief is en route to our location and should be here by 0900 tomorrow. I know it's not easy, but we must hang tight." The communications officer interrupted again. "That's not all, Chief. They're moving more troops in. Should be here on the next train, probably sometime tomorrow or the next day at the latest." Carl looked at the security chief. "I need to get to the church to make contact with Pastor Sharps." The security chief told Carl that he didn't think it was a good idea. "Constable, you know they'll be watching the church. You aren't getting anywhere near there." "Yes, I will," asserted Carl. "I know the woods surrounding the property there like the back of my hand. Been hunting there since I was old enough to carry a rifle. Trust me, I can get in undetected." The chief pondered it for a moment and interjected. "Okay, but you aren't going alone. I'll send in a team with you." Carl told him that they could not afford the exposure that a team would bring. The security chief agreed and added, "Okay, Carl, 2 men. No negotiating on it. You go in alone, but they go with you as far as you can get them. They will hang back on your say-so. Then, at least they will be close by if something goes down, or if you need them." Carl nodded in agreement, and the security chief snapped his fingers, and the man at the door left the room, going to issue the order to gear up, to the 2 men going with Carl, no doubt. Carl said his goodbyes to his wife and his children. He pulled Zeb aside to talk privately. "Son, you know what really happened back at the house to Major Stillman and his men. You also heard the communication on the radio just now. You know they won't stop coming." He put his hand on Zeb's shoulder. "It's not just me, Zeb. They know the whole family was there. What they are saying I did, it's only going to end one way, if Crawford and his men have anything to say about it. They won't stop with me. They will come for Mom and you and your brothers. Knowing the sort of men we're dealing with, maybe even the girls too. If anything happens to me, get Mom and the others out immediately. Do you remember where Grandpa's old hunting cabin is? I know it's been a long time, but Mom took you and Zach up there to spread his ashes after he passed." "Yeah, I remember, Dad," Zeb answered. "I know it's a fairly long ride, but you need to take the family there. Mom grew up there hunting and fishing with Grandpa. She knows the area well. And Zeb, inside, in front of the fireplace, there's a metal strongbox, hidden beneath one of the floorboards. Find it. It has some instructions for you. I put it in there years ago for your mom when you were just a baby. It's for you now. If I'm gone, you will be the head of the family. In that box is a letter that will explain a few things. It will also contain contact information for a very old and very dear trusted friend. Contact him. He will be able to help. Give him the names of the men from the meeting in the barn when Major Stillman came out to the farm. He will know what to do. Whatever you do, don't give those names to anybody but him." Again, he looked at Zeb square in the eyes. "Son, if something happens to me, it's very important that you go immediately. I know you. You're a lot like me. Your instinct will be to stay, to fight. You are young and you are strong, Zeb. But trust me, you cannot fight these people alone. Am I clear?" "Yes, Dad, crystal clear." Carl nodded and pulled Zeb into a hug. "Take care of Mom and the kids while I'm gone. I'll be back in a day or so." With that, Carl walked outside with the two men from the security team following him. They got on their horses and rode down the trail, off the mountain toward the valley below.